Hello, everyone. My name is Muds, and welcome back to the JohnCast, the podcast where we talk about stuff and do things. It's just me today for this episode. Rocking solo. Timing just wasn't really on our side for a whole lot of anything, so we had to come to a compromise, which is that you're only going to be hearing from me, and that the episode's going to be a little bit shorter this week. It's the reason we didn't end up actually hitting one last week, even though there was quite a lot to actually talk about, was because we just couldn't really find a time where we were all together and able to set aside time to record. So it's just me. I just wanted to, for this episode at least, talk a little bit about some plans for the channel. I can't remember what I had mentioned for content outside of the JohnCast in the last episode or the episode before that, but I do have some other things that I want to mention for, in at least in that regard. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Warhammer. We missed being able to really talk about it last week. A bunch of the new models that got announced, and they got all their data sheets and stuff, which is super cool. And this week we got a balanced data slate, finally touching on all the things I think a lot of people expected. So we're going to talk about those. But first, the channel as a whole, kind of what's the deal? Where are we going? JohnCast, obviously going to keep going until I can't, which probably won't really ever be a time where I can't. I just might miss a couple of weeks here and there because, life happens. That's how it is. As far as the video in regards to Deadlock, that is gonna, for the most part, I think, be shelved for now. For a couple of reasons. Number one was it was only Elijah and I that had actually finished it by the time I wanted to get it uploaded, which was around the release of Apollo. And as well, um, Deadlock as a whole, since we're a couple weeks afterwards, has kind of fallen off a little bit. So call me content chasing, but that's what it's doing. So I think we're gonna table that idea until the next wave of heroes comes out, or until at least the next update comes out, major update, so that there's a lot more people talking about the game again. Because obviously I am just gonna upload shit that I like to do. That's how you have fun on YouTube. But I think if I wanted to reach the most people, it would be smart to kind of hold off on that until later. That aside, I have a couple of ideas coming up for the channel that are not Deadlock related. They're some Magic and some Warhammer related that I kind of want to just talk about briefly. The first one is that coming up, I want to say within the next like 2 months or so, I'm gonna try, I shouldn't say we're, it's just me. I'm gonna try to get a video going on Tabletop Simulator where we're using custom commanders, so cards we just kind of made up. Um, I've started on a couple already. Well, this has kind of been like an ongoing thing because I run a house league for Magic for a bunch of my buddies, and we do challenges on tabletop every once in a while. And one of them that I had announced a little bit ago was Commander with custom commanders. So I want to kind of not only take that idea and just use it for fun, but also at least leverage, because we're gonna have more than one game going. Leverage my game for content on YouTube, which I think is a pretty neat idea, and it gets to kind of show off creativity, which is neat. We're also going to, I think, maybe do a video on Commander where we kind of all combine each other's decks together. So all four of us are kind of drawing from the same deck, which I think would be super cool and kind of fun to give a go. And maybe we'll do some Popper. I don't know. That's another one that I'm still kind of on the fence about. I've been toying with the idea for a little bit now, but never really kind of said, hey, I want to do this for YouTube. I did pitch it as an idea just for a fun little thing for our house league to try, but for YouTube, it has not been really pitched. So maybe, maybe not. The thing I can say we will probably be doing for the channel is the custom card thing within the next couple of months. I want to say two. Two might be a little generous. Obviously, I'm a university student, stuff happens, but we'll see. At most three. We'll say at most three, but 2 months is, within the next 2 months is when I'm aiming to get that up as well. I mentioned Warhammer, obviously. think I'm gonna do probably a couple painting videos. I'm an amateur painter, obviously I'm not terribly good, but it's to kind of document the journey and receive some comments and criticisms on what I'm doing to try to improve. And to, get my idea out there. I play Ultramarines. It's what they are officially, but I've painted them to be my own custom Legion, which I really want to show off because I think they're super neat. They're really cool. So we will try to do that, and I think I might start uploading a couple of the games I play with my buddies on tabletop as well, just for fun. We usually play at about 2K, that we've been playing a lot of 1K games recently because we're all relatively new to Warhammer, and it's kind of a bit easier to wrangle with 1K points rather than going straight to 2K. Though I do like 2K. I have about 3,000 points in Ultramarines and just shy of 1,000 in Space Wolves right now. Um, and I really like playing, the bigger battles, obviously, because you get to use everything you've got at your disposal, and it's just all super cool, and it's grand and really neat. I don't think I need to explain that. It's just cool stuff, but hopefully we will be able to get a couple of those up as well. And what's better for that too is that anybody who's much more knowledgeable in Warhammer than we are can call us on mistakes we make. Those will obviously, all these ideas will require a lot more editing when it comes to at least the podcast usually, and you'll notice this because there's times when there's like audio problems or stuff coming through people's mics. I don't really edit them. The past two episodes, and it's not going to be unique for this one, is either is I just kind of record them and then upload them. There's not really a lot of editing to it, which is why, yeah, there's sometimes little issues with them. But those will require editing. I don't have an editing software. I used to edit like a lot of the videos that are still on the channel from the old Garbage to Greatness challenge and the Overwatch April Fools thing. Did have quite a bit of editing to them, even though it doesn't look like it, because obviously I'm not a terribly good editor by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not very good, but hey, practice makes perfect, right? The more I can practice, the better they will be. But again, that does come with the issue of time constraints, and being a university student, I don't always have, every second of the day to sit down and make sure things are perfect, because I am a bit of a perfectionist. I don't really like to half-ass stuff if it's something that I'm interested in. So usually when it comes to editing, and this was something that happened with the Garbage to Greatness challenges, is I would get to editing them and they'd never turn out how I wanted. And I kept re-editing them and re-editing them, and then it just, months would pass with basically no progress, and then I would just have to move on because it was too late. But hopefully, with these, the editing should be, at least these ideas that I've got now, should be reasonably minimal. I'll have to find a new editing software as well, kind of a little broke, so that might be a bit of a challenge, but who knows? Maybe if any of you guys, any of the viewers at home, good free or reasonably cheap editing softwares, leave them in the comments. That'd be super. Because I don't know any. I was using WeVideo for a while, but that was because my account, for some reason, it was a school account, and my school was still paying for WeVideo, so I was able to kind of weasel it off of them, but no longer, obviously, as I'm not in high school. I'm I'm a little bit older than that now. So yeah, free editing softwares, or at least ones that are a little bit cheap. Any, let me know. That would be super. But that all aside, we're gonna kind of go jump into the bulk of what I actually wanted to talk about today, which is Warhammer. So what do we have on the table for Warhammer, man? There is a lot of stuff that came out in this data slate. I'm not going to talk about all of it because there was just so much, but I'm going to talk about the stuff that affects me and the stuff that I think most people were kind of expecting, and we're going to go over the new data sheets for some of the new characters as well, those being the Twin Lance for the Tau, um, Burek Stornbrow, if I'm saying that correctly, for the Leagues of Votan, and the Prime with Lash Whip, because he is also He's here now. We were last week waiting on his release to record the podcast so that we would have every single data sheet to talk about, but again, kind of timing happened, so just me here to talk about it now. But we're gonna jump straight in with the one that I think is the most interesting here, which is the Twin Lance. These are the new the new Tau guys. They're kind of Farsight's replacement, from what I understand, because Farsight kind of went off and did his own thing. And these guys are pretty wicked. They're actual, funny enough, actual Tau melee fighters to a degree. So their whole shtick is they're 10 movement, 6 toughness, 2 up save with a 4 up invuln, 8 wounds, 6 leadership, and OC2. There are 2 of them in the unit. Funny enough, I'm not certain. I'm not terribly good at kind of reading the data sheets here. It looks as though they both share 8 wounds together, but it doesn't mention that they're 4 wounds each. So I'm gonna take a wild guess here and say that they kind of just, you gotta kill them both. So 1 wound, both of them are still kicking. That could be wrong. I didn't, in all honesty, read through the entire article. That's kind of on me, but that's, from what I'm understanding, kind of their shtick right now. But the rest of them, that outside, they've got Deep Strike and an 8-inch scout move, which is super cool. They've got what looks to be as well a gun drone kicking around, which, yeah, they're Tau. It's kind of how it is. They both have one. And they have guns up the wazoo. Oh my god. They are equipped with a fusion eliminator, an ion scatter cannon, a Shardstorm burst system, twin pulse blasters, which are from the gun drones, and the XV pulse pistols, which is really super neat. And because these guys are vehicles, they can even shoot well in melee, even if they are tied up there, though just at a penalty for the big guns never tire rule. But my god, these guns are nuts. They are pretty crazy. The pistol is 12 inches of range, 2 attacks on 2, strength 6, AP 1, 2 damage with rapid fire 2, which is pretty neat. Not pistol, but, they shoot in melee anyway, so who really cares? I guess it'll just receive that penalty if you do shoot it. The pulse blasters from the gun drones, they've got assault twin link, 10 inches of range, 2 attacks each. 5 up on the ballistic skill, which is not super, but it's gun drones. Strength 6, AP 1, 1 damage. The Shardstorm burst system, which actually does have the pistol keyword, it's got 18 inches of range, D6 attacks on 2, strength 5, AP 0, 1 damage. Very pistol-y. The ion scatter cannon, it's got an overcharge and a regular profile. It's got rapid fire 2 on both of them, 18 inches of range, 4 attacks on 2s, strength 7, AP 2, D2, or for the overcharged, strength 8, AP3, D3. Obviously, you'll have to take hazardous. And then, of course, the fusion eliminator with Melta 2. Always good day to have Melta guns. 18 inches of range, 2 attacks on 2, strength 10, AP4 with D6 damage. But that on its own is really good. But a lot of these work as melees as well, which is super, super neat. So unlike Farsight, where he's got his own separate sword, these guys, their guns are their melee weapons too. So in melee, they've got access to the Fusion Eliminator, Ion Scatter Cannon, and XV Pulse Pistol, just kind of slightly nerfed. So you've got the XV Pulse Pistol, 4 attacks on 3, Strength 6, AP1, D2. Then both the other two, no special keywords, but they have extra attacks, being the Ion Scatter Cannon and the Fusion Eliminator. The Ion Scatter Cannon is 3 attacks on 4, Strength 7, AP2, D2, which is no joke. And the Fusion Eliminator, which is 1 attack on 4, Strength 10, AP4, D2, or sorry, not D2, D6 plus 2 damage. Really, really good. They don't hit super well, but again, they're Tau. They don't usually, so it's just an extra thing to give them in the fight phase so they don't have to deal with the standard really bad close combat weapons that most Tau models would have, which is a good time. So they're always going to have something to do. What do they have in abilities though? They've got Exemplar of the Mont Ka. Each time one of them makes a ranged attack that targets the closest eligible target, They have sustained, it's one, and ignore cover. You're going to notice this is kind of a trend with a lot of the new character models that Games Workshop has been releasing. They either give their squad sustain one or just have sustain one themselves. They really like to spam it on everything, which is a bit odd, but it's a generically good effect, and it's not devastating wounds, so it's not that evil. But they have that, and then they also have Neocapacitor Shields, which at the start of your opponent's charge phase, you can select one enemy unit that isn't a monster or vehicle unit within 12 inches of these two, and that unit must take a Battle Shock test, and until end of turn, subtract 1 from the charge roll. So they've got a bit of charge protection, or at least for other units, not just for them. Though if they're within 12, they might end up getting charged anyways. And then they also have Retro Thrusters, which at the end of the fight phase, this unit can either make a normal move up to 6 inches or a fallback move, which is also quite neat to kind of keep them out of the fight and keep them shooting well, which is super, super cool. As far as they go, I think I saw somewhere that they're about 160 points, which makes sense. Not too crazy in that realm. Let me quickly fact check that. Just a moment. I believe it was 160 points, which for the Tau, you know, that's up there, but not an impossibility to deal with. I think if I were running Tau, I would totally be packing these guys. They're super, super cool looking. Not entirely a fan of the color scheme that Games Workshop gave them, which is like this bone and blue color. I might do them something a little bit different, but that's just me. Don't have to obviously follow what Games Workshop does for the color schemes that they give their things. Let me just quickly find that, and we're going to go... Yes, so 160 points is what they're at right now, which is, yeah, I think pretty good. The other one, there's two more I wanted to talk about. We'll move on to Barrack Stormbrow. He is for the Votann. Votann getting character models. Very surprising. Though not impossible, obviously. I think Admech just got another, or are getting another named character model for the first time since I don't know when, which is always nice to see. But I think he's actually really quite neat. He is their kind of, from what I can understand at least, premier big game hunter. So he's going to be kind of going after big dudes. He is just him. He has got 6 inches of movement, 6 toughness, a 5-up save, but a 5-up invuln, 5 wounds, a 7-up on the leadership, and 1 OC. He is nothing but melee. That is it. He's nothing but melee. He is also 110 points. I'm not terribly knowledgeable in the realm of Votann, so I don't know how that goes for going raids for named models, but seems reasonable enough, I think, for what he does. He's got a 4-up Feel No Pain, and he can lead Chthonian Berserks, which I don't know what they do, but they sound pretty nasty, and I'd have to assume they're kind of in the same realm of him in that they're kind of going to be going to take out those big vehicles or monsters that your opponents have. Why do I say that? Because that's what this guy does. He's got his melee weapon here. It's got 2 different, what looks to be kind of ways you can swing it. Because he's got like a hammer pickaxe combination, which is super, super sweet. And it's either got kind of what looks to be sort of an anti-infantry or anti-vehicle way to go. And he's also got an extra attack gauntlet, which I think is probably just him punching whatever's in front of him. So he's got his Cromlock's Revenge. I am so sorry if I butchered that. That's his pickaxe hammer combo. It's got Graviton Strikes, or its Plasma Sweep profile. We'll go Graviton Strikes. It has anti-monster and anti-vehicle 3-ups, which is super sweet. 4 attacks onto Strength 10, AP2, 4 damage. That's pretty wicked. That's pretty good. And Plasma Sweeps is 8 attacks onto Strength 7, AP2, D2. Very Titus-esque in the anti-infantry kind of way of things. So quite good. And then he's got his Warforged Gauntlets with their extra attacks. They have 2 attacks onto Strength 6, AP2, 1 damage. So just extra little ways to kind of pick at things. His abilities, he's got Break the Foe, which gives melee weapons equipped by models in his unit sustain 1. Again with the sustain 1, here we are again. And Relentless Avalanche, which lets you target this model's unit with Heroic Intervention for nothing, and you can do so even if you've already used Heroic Intervention that turn, which is super cool, so you can kind of go intervene. This guy's design, I know you can't really show it because it's a podcast, you're supposed to listen to it, but this guy's design is absolutely awesome. He is so cool. It's this dwarf guy, he's shirtless, he's got like a WWE style belt, big metal arm, he's holding up an orc head in front of him that he's severed off, and he's got this giant hammer that's like almost as big as he is. It's super, super cool. If I were to run Votan, I would totally pick this guy up just because he looks sick. I don't even care if he's bad. He just looks really cool. Excuse me, taking a drink there. But yeah, he's awesome. Move on, though, to the Tyranid Prime with the Lash Whip, the last of the new models I wanted to talk about here. He is, dare I say, a little bit generic, but that's kind of just how it's going to be with an already existing model that's kind of just been changed a little bit. So nothing too crazy that is around there. He costs, I believe, 85 points, which is a little bit more than the Winged Prime. Not great, but who knows? Maybe he'll turn out. He's got relatively okay stats, so I can sort of justify it in my mind, but not really. What does he have? So he's nothing but melee. He's got 10 inches of movement, 5 toughness, a 3-up save with no extra little bits to protect him, though that's not uncommon for Tyranids. 6 wounds, leadership of 7, and OC 1. And he can go with Harmagants, Termagants, Tyranid warriors with melee weapons, or Tyranid warriors with ranged weapons. Again, not terribly unique in that. A lot of the Prime models can do that. He's got 3 melees. None of them have extra attacks or any special characteristics. These are just straight up 3 melees. He's got his Rending Claws, which are 4 attacks onto Strength 8, AP2, D3, which is pretty good. His Lash Whip, the new thing that he gets, which is 8 attacks onto Strength 4, AP2, D1, so kind of a bit of a more anti-infantry piece. And his Scything Talons, which are 6 attacks onto Strength 6, AP2, D2. So not too bad at all. But something funny with him that I saw somebody point out, and I think this is a little bit silly that this is the case. Let me just pull this up quickly. One of his melees is actually stronger than the melee on Norns, which is a bit odd. So if you look at his, I believe it is his Rending Claw. It is his Rending Claw. Is Strength 8 versus the Rending Claw on the Norn Emissary being Strength 7. Which is a bit strange. This guy's, like, not even half the size of a Norn Emissary, but he's got a stronger Rending Claw, which is a little bit weird. I think that's kind of just an end of edition datasheet sort of thing. Just a newer model. They kind of might have maybe forgotten a little bit what their other ones did, but that's okay. I still obviously got the regular Tyranid bits and bobs, but no special abilities. In the realm of like a Feel No Pain or anything. What does he do? He's got Alpha Warrior, which gives weapons equipped by models in his unit sustain 1. Wow, guys, sustain 1 again. That's the third time it's been mentioned here. And Aggressive Leader Beast, which allows you in your opponent's shooting phase each time an enemy unit has shot. If any model from this guy's unit were destroyed as a result of those attacks, it can make a D6 surge move that lets him end nearest to the closest enemy model, which does actually let him go into engagement range. It cannot make the surge move, though, while it is battle shocked or if it's already within engagement range of another enemy unit, and it can obviously only make 1 surge move per phase. So, pretty alright. 85 points is a lot more than the other guy, their Winged Prime, but that's fine. I don't think this guy is going to be much in the realm of game changing. But speaking of game changing, we're going to move on to some of the big balance changes that they made to the Necrons. Oh my god. I don't know how Games Workshop allowed these guys to exist as strong as they did for so long, but they did, which is, I guess, just something that you have to accept. But they finally did actually, give the Satan a bit of a slap on the wrist. As a whole, across the board, they are now 10 points more expensive, or if you're running them in Pantheon, they're a little bit more than that, and I believe the Pantheon upgrades are also more expensive. Reason that is relevant is because you have to take the upgrades on them if you're running Pantheon, which was their big Pantheon of Woe was their big problem detachment. So now you kind of you can't really run an extra squad of something in the Necron, so you lose out a little bit, which is nice. But bigger than that, I think kind of ignoring Pantheon to the bigger Necrons as a whole, a lot of Necron auras and stratagems no longer work on the Satan. Because they're, I think, the only monster units that Necrons have, a lot of them just were given a clause. A lot of the stratagems and a lot of the auras that other units give out were just given a clause saying this can't affect monsters, so you can't really like buff stack them anymore, which is a good thing. Notably, the Silent King and Necrozor's auras don't affect them now, so no more rerolls, no more extra movement, blah blah blah, which is super super nice. More than that, though, and I was a little bit surprised by this, but not super, because he's really, really good. Necrozor Amantar got a huge points nerf. He's up to 185 from 165. That's noticeable. That's a big deal. Which, not super surprised, but a little bit that they kind of went that far. This hopefully will make it so they're not at a 60% win rate everywhere now. I don't know how well this will do. I think Satan spam will still exist because they're still like their datasheets haven't been changed, which surprised me a little bit considering the Victrix got hammered so hard as they did. I don't even think the Victrix were able to bring the Ultramarines as high in win rates as the Satan have, but they've been left be for now. I don't think this is gonna affect them. Like they're not gonna be bad Satan spam. I just don't think it's going to be as prevalent, which I think was their goal. I don't think they really wanted to make Satan spam like a bad way to play. They just wanted to make it not like the de facto way to play. Which is still going to make them on the casual side still incredibly strong, but for tournaments you do kind of have to like think about, do I want to run a list of basically just a bunch of Satan everywhere or not, which is pretty sweet. Speaking of Victrix and Space Marines as a whole, they got a couple of points nerfs as well. Biggest one, surprising nobody, the Combi Lieutenant finally got nerfed. It's up to 85 from 70. I don't think there's been a single successful Space Marine list without a Combi Lieutenant for a long time now, and it's a model that basically nobody can get. So hopefully with this points nerf, it's going to kind of move from de facto auto include to kind of a little less good. It'll obviously still see play. It's pretty strong, but it's not going to be everywhere now, which is great because it is nice to always see them encouraging a bit more variety. Speaking of variety, the other ones, the Repulsor Executioner got a 10-point nerf, and the Redemptor Dreadnought got a 10-point nerf as well, I think to encourage people to run other Dreadnoughts and the other Repulsor profiles, because those were kind of the only two that people were running. Something to kind of mention, and this is kind of just my opinion, for the Redemptor Dreadnought, I don't personally think that nerfing its points was the right way to go. I think they should have instead kind of looked at making the other Dreadnoughts, on par with it, because it does kind of just do everything right now. Like, it's got good firepower and good melee, and the other two kind of don't have the mid-range that it does. So I think they'd benefit a bit more from just buffing the other ones rather than nerfing the Redemptor, but what do I know? I don't balance games competitively. Maybe this is kind of the right course of action right now, because obviously 11th edition is right around the corner, so those guys might be getting messed with when that comes out. And the other one is the Wardens of Ultramar. Also, again, not a big surprise, I think, to anybody. They got a 15-point nerf up from 90 to 105. These guys were pretty nuts. Like, I don't really think this was a surprise. These guys were crazy. I personally, so I have Titus in his command squad. I didn't run them. I wasn't super big. The redeploy is obviously great, but I for 90 points I had other things I wanted to run just because that's what I had. But on the competitive side of things, yeah, I don't think anybody's really surprised by this one, which is neat that it is finally, yeah, getting a bit of a nerf. Combi Lieutenant though, yeah, I'm fine with that going. Not only because I don't have one, but because yeah, it was just de facto, the best way to go. You'd look at any Raven Guard list, Combi Lieutenant, Ultramarines, Combi Lieutenant, um, fucking Space Wolves, Combi Lieutenant. Hey, what the hell is Space Wolves doing running Combi Lieutenants? I don't know. It's just that good, but yeah, they are nuts. They are nuts. So it hopefully won't be as everywhere as it was before. Um, and everywhere as it was before, the Eldar, who are nowhere because they kind of got nerfed across the board. Wraith constructs got all of their points decreased by a flat 10 for each of them, I think. Which cool. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's going to be enough to really make any changes for them, but I guess people can run a lot of construct models now because they're cheaper, which is cool. Tyler plays Eldar. That's kind of the only reason I brought this up, and he'll probably end up watching this video. But yeah, they so yeah, Tyler, if you're watching this, you get a 10-point discount on your Wraith Blades there, and that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's kind of about all I wanted to go over for this episode. I think next week, I don't really know what's going to happen next week. Hopefully, we'll have everybody back in the saddle, or at least three of the four will be around to, talk and go over just stuff in general, life, really the deep and meaningful stuff, not not what I'm doing here, which is talking about a bunch of little plastic men. But yeah, also I do hope to start to actually release content, but for the reasons I mentioned before, yeah, I just haven't really found time to do so. But trust me, I want to. I really do. Oh, you know what? Actually, I just this reminded me of because I was on the topic. Shavana is getting her rework within, I think it's on the 18th, so the next 2 weeks. That we are going to talk about. I already kind of have my own opinions formed on it. I gave it a go on the PBE just yesterday when it launched. So I think that's going to be kind of a conversation for next week, not this week, because there's not going to be any differing opinions on anything. It's just going to be me talking, and that's the benefit of having other people, is it's not just really one-sided. Because obviously, I'm sure everybody's got their own opinions on everything, right? So it's nice to hear, both sides if people disagree on things. But anyway, that'll be about it for this video, this episode of the JohnCast, episode 2, because last episode was episode 1.5. So I want to thank you for watching. If you did enjoy, leave a like, leave a comment down below. Any comments or criticism is welcome. Obviously, I do want to improve this because I want to keep doing this. Since I was a kid, been a really big fan of, content creators. Like most people my generation were, that was kind of the big thing. It was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a YouTuber. And while I obviously have no grand ambitions for hitting a huge, I do want to, find success on this platform doing something that I enjoy. So, yeah, any ways to improve, leave them in the comments. I'd love to hear it. And anything you guys want to hear us talk about as well on the JohnCast, please let us know. It offloads a lot of the thinking from me on having to say, okay, what are we going to do for next week's episode? So you have anything you want to see, anything you want us to talk about, maybe, some lists we like, why we play the factions we do in Warhammer, why we chose the decks we do for Magic, or just some general other stuff, maybe who we made in League of Legends or something. I know we talked a little bit about League last episode. Let me know down in the comment. But again, thank you for tuning in. This has been the JohnCast, and I will see you guys in the next episode.